All right, we're back here with a WandaVision preview, prediction show of sorts, talking all things WandaVision, Disney Plus, Marvel, you name it. We're talking about it here today, as always, being joined by Doc Chris Mueller at BR_Doctor on the Twitter machine. Chris, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm always happy to talk Marvel again.
Twice in 1 week, because we already talked about WandaVision episodes 1 and 2 on Friday with Phil, which was great. Went about an hour and a half with Phil talking about those 2 episodes alone. We're going to recap what went down with episodes 1 and 2, not just getting our thoughts again, but Mr. Warren Hayes joining us for the very first time to talk all things Marvel, specifically WandaVision. Warren, welcome to the show, my man.
Well, thank you very much. My pleasure to be here. It'll be nice to, be able to talk about a show without having to talk about, how good one's selling is, or was that an appropriate STF or not? It'll be nice. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Of course. And your Twitter machine is at Mr. Warren Hayes, correct?
Correct.
Okay, perfect. People can follow you there. Like I said, me and Chris already talked extensively about WandaVision episodes 1 and 2 a couple days ago. I want to get your thoughts now. You obviously caught both episodes. What were your thoughts?
I loved it. I'm all for breaking the formula up a bit, and I know the situation took a lot of people by surprise, and they were like, "Wait, what?" Like as if they weren't expecting this, and I think that's a good thing. I think we're deep enough into the superhero formula that we can have a little fun with it, throw a couple of curveballs to keep it interesting. Because if it's always like, origin stories or save the world all the time, it does get a little grating. You're like, oh, we're doing this again. Whereas here, the script has been completely flipped. We don't know what's going on, and that's great. It's like we're getting a mystery show within a superhero context, and I am 100% behind it. Love the production. I loved everything about it. I think it's great.
Yeah, and that's what Chris said as well when we spoke the other day about it. We both enjoy what they've done so far with it. Did you have any nostalgia from watching what they were going for with Bewitched with episode 2? I think the first one was the Dick Van Dyke Show, right, Chris, or was that episode 2?
Yeah, first one was, both shows have hints of a bunch of sitcoms, but the sets were very much designed to look like Dick Van Dyke in episode 1, and then Bewitched in episode 2. Bewitched, they got it really close.
I didn't know until...
they even did the intro and everything.
That's what I was going to say.
That cartoon intro was amazing. That was so funny.
Yeah, I didn't realize that until after we saw it.
Did you watch those shows at all, Warren? I watched them on Nick at Night growing up, personally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like it's the throwbacks are fantastic, but what's really good about it is that it is the level of commitment that Olsen and Bettany are doing or have given their characters throughout it, because they really do sort of ham it up like actors used to do back in the 50s during these sitcoms. They weren't even called sitcoms back then, were they? Like these television programs, these events. It's like everything, and right down to the art direction. And I think that's what's most spectacular about it all. It's how precise the art direction is in regards to how everything is laid out. The furniture, everything is wonderful. You just look at it and you're instantly immersed. Even if you don't get the direct Bewitched references, you'll understand the overall aesthetic, because it's one that's been copied and brought back multiple times in different types of media. You at least get what they're going for. There's a little extra something if you do get it. I agree, but everything is just so pristine and well directed. I swear it's some of the most amazing Marvel stuff that they've done in a long time.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, going back to what you were saying, Paul Bettany and Elizabeth Olsen, you can tell they studied those actors, because Paul Bettany had Dick Van Dyke's, lanky comedic movements down. And then I think in episode 2, it was probably the strongest with Elizabeth Olsen. Just the little physical things and the little facial expressions she was doing were so very much reminiscent of Samantha Stevens from Bewitched. And
she was absolutely Elizabeth Montgomery. Absolutely, 100%.
It was such a great, like, when they're practicing the magic trick in the living room and she's pretending to what she's going to do on stage. It's like all these little things she did. I swear to God, I saw that stuff in Bewitched. Like, I think there was an episode where her husband wanted to do a magic show without her help, but she had to help him anyway. So, yeah, it's awesome.
And it's a perfectly 50s story, because it's all about these quid pro quo situations where, like in the first episode where she has to prepare the meal last minute, but you don't want the boss to see, so it's like there's all these comedic situations that come out of it, and so they do the same with the second episode with the magic act, but in such perfectly 50s fashion. And I mean, essentially, Vision is technically the drunk husband. Like, he showed up drunk, although he's not drunk, but that's essentially it, which is something completely 50s. Like something that you would see on TV, Oh, the husband comes home drunk comes to the big social affair drunk, and the wife has to cover for him. It's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. I swear, everything has been calculated to a T here and executed marvelously. I'm really enthusiastic about, much more than I thought I would be.
No, definitely. The last 2 episodes alone have given me enough faith that the rest of it should be good. And obviously anything involving Marvel, is going to be good. And I've said this to Chris before. It's not to make a wrestling reference, but to kind of make a wrestling reference for a second. It's a lot like NXT or AEW, where you're going to get a consistently good product more often than not. Some stuff is going to be better than others. Or like a TakeOver, for example. It's always going to be good. And so far, it's off to a great start. Where do you think it's going to go from here, Warren? We're 2 episodes in. We have 7 to go. Based off what we've seen so far, outside of the aesthetic of the show and whatnot, and the overall feel of it, which is cool, in terms of what we've seen so far and the subtleties from both Wanda and Vision, everyone else in the show, what's going on here? Where do you think it's going?
Now that's the question, isn't it, right? I think, correct me if I'm wrong, fellas, but I think that the overall consensus is that Wanda is creating this environment for herself to sort of cope with the loss of Vision, right? Wouldn't we say that's kind of the feel that we're getting so far?
Yeah. Was that you, Chris, or was that Phil that said that, Chris, the other day?
I mean, Phil and I both kind of agreed that she's the one making this. Yeah. But what I think is happening is that somebody might be manipulating her in some way, because just the references to Strucker with the watch, that seemed like more than just a funny commercial. It seems like those commercials have meaning. I agree,
but I think that might be part of how she's coping with stuff, and I don't think she's being very, very. I don't think it's conscious. I think she's semi-conscious about what's going on, but she does realize that it's a safe space, because the first commercial we had was for the Stark toaster, right?
Right.
And the second one, like you said, was the Strucker.
Lucille Ball lookalike.
What's that?
That girl was a Lucille Ball lookalike if I ever seen one.
And the let's not forget, wasn't it her parents, didn't they die in a Stark Enterprises explosion, right?
Yeah, and the bomb that her and her brother were staring at for 2 days that went off was a Stark bomb. And
was a Stark bomb, there you go. And that's why, because there's one thing I noticed, sorry to interrupt, because the one thing that I noticed in that commercial on the toaster was that the light was blinking red. Mm-hmm. Everything is still black and white at this point, and we hadn't seen the helicopter, so I was like, oh, okay. And there was something very ominous about it. And then Strucker, well, he's the guy from Age of Ultron, right?
Yep.
He's
experimented on her, yeah.
So he's a son of a bitch. So maybe this is her subconscious sort of trying to deal with this trauma, right? So I don't know how much it is someone that's implanting these references into whatever universe she's created for herself, or maybe it's just herself who's trying to make lemons out of lemonade to a certain degree, maybe try to cope with all the shit that's happened because of these two particular individuals,
So what do you think about the guy coming on the radio who, Graham, you said that was definitely Randall Park, right? Who's saying, Wanda, who's doing this to you? Wanda, that made me wonder if there is somebody out there possibly doing something, but I do think she's the one who's primarily in control, because she sees the guy in the beekeeper's outfit with the sword logo and just goes no, and time rewinds, and all of a sudden he's not there anymore. And so obviously she's the one manipulating what's going on. And there's also that little scene with her and Emma Caulfield's character, Dottie or something, where she's like, we're not here to hurt anyone. Drops her accent completely, and Dottie looks at her and goes, I don't believe you. And then her glass breaks, and all of a sudden she's back to normal. And so there's so many different things that could be going on, and that's what I love about it is, I've already seen at least a half dozen, perfectly plausible theories getting thrown around.
Okay. So, I'm really behind the idea that this is some kind of safe space, and I think the people who are trying to come in, the beekeeper that has everyone sort of buzzing. See what I did there? I think there are individuals who are trying to get her out of whatever this is. And maybe they're coming across as threats. It's the perfect world that she has for herself in Vision right now. 1950s American exceptionalism at its top, at its finest. There's no problems outside of your little bubble, and whatever problems you have, by God, they're so easily remedied. You just what's that noise? Oh, it's just tree branches. It's everything can be remedied so simply. She'd gone through hell, and for what reason she did not get Vision back? Everyone got their people back when Thanos' snap was reversed, right? But she didn't get him back. She's
because he wasn't a victim of the snap.
What's that?
Because he wasn't a victim of the snap.
Exactly. Because he was a living Infinity Stone, basically. So she lost her brother, lost her family. She comes out of the Infinity War, and she's got nothing, and everything that she ever wanted is gone. So why not? She has the power. She can do it. Hell, she's in the comics, and I don't know if they're going to start referencing this proper, but probably she's Magneto's daughter, right? In the comics.
And they made reference to that in the X-Men movies with Quicksilver. But I don't think they're going to go that route in this universe, and the only reason I think that is because I've heard rumors that because of the Marvel's shifting timeline, they don't want to cast a white guy to play Magneto and Xavier. They want to move the timeline forward from the Holocaust to the Civil Rights Movement so they can cast actors that are more age appropriate.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I think Denzel was the one that was being looked at primarily for Magneto. But also they established that her parents are dead. So
yes, I know that's also the thing. But you can't help but draw parallels when you go to Endgame. Let's not forget she walks up to Thanos, right? And she's like, "You took everything from me." And he's like, "I don't even know who you are," kind of thing. And she fucks him up.
She could have single-handedly killed him had he not had his ship shoot down.
Yeah, that's it. He had to call down the hammer of the gods. Even his one dude said, "But but sir, our troops," he said, "do it, because she's ripping me apart right now," kind of thing. She's one of the most powerful people in the Marvel universe, just very, very understated. You have to sort of look and point at stuff. So the idea here is that she can create this universe for herself. Of course, the weird thing, the theory still has holes in it, because then whatever she's doing can be observed, because you had someone from SWORD who's taking notes and watching what's going on monitors. So maybe it's a little more in depth than that. But to me, I still feel like it's a safe space for her. She wants to live out her fantasy life with Vision here, and she's absolutely okay, just barring the rest of the world outside of it.
Yeah,
that makes sense. There's a lot of different ways this story can play out. So there's many. I think, how many episodes are left? 7, you said, Chris?
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a lot of time left for them to explore whatever they're going for. Any swerves or bold predictions that you guys have? Chris, I'll start with you. I know we spoke the other day about this already, but since then, you've had more time to allow it to kind of set in. We spoke on Friday. It's 2 days later. More people are talking about it now. You've had more time to kind of reflect on it. Any bold predictions you see playing out in the remainder of the season?
I mean, I did get a chance to watch it again, so I've watched both episodes 3 times now.
Okay.
And I think my original predictions are still solid, that like she's essentially created this pocket universe, but it's technically like a bubble around a real neighborhood. So the people that are inhabiting this world alongside her and Vision are real people. And I think that's why we saw the facade drop from Emma Caulfield for a moment, because Wanda's magic, she was getting a little distracted and maybe started to wane, and then she snapped back, and all of a sudden the character snapped back. But I thought it was interesting how they, like, only her blood was red, like Warren was saying, only the red light was red. They're using color in a very interesting way, and I'm curious to see what they're going to do now that they've brought a full color aesthetic into the show, yes, since the next episode is supposed to be like a Brady Bunch thing, from what I understand. But we already know, based on casting news, that Agent Wu is coming in, Randall Park, at some point. So is Darcy. Mm-hmm. And then we've already met Geraldine, who's not really Geraldine.
No.
So I'm really curious. I think either Darcy, Wu, and Monica Rambeau are either working for SWORD, or they're going to be working like from the other side, like maybe SWORD's purpose, because SWORD isn't exactly a babyface group, let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. They're kind of a tweener group in the comics. They don't exactly do good by everybody. They just do what they feel needs to be done. So it's possible that we're going to be seeing 2 conflicting groups, both trying to get to Wanda. But just due to the fact that she's so powerful, and I don't think she even fully understands what her magic is capable of yet, I think it's very likely we're going to get a Doctor Strange cameo to lead into the next movie that they've already confirmed she'll be a big part of.
I think that's where my big swerve is going to be. I think Doctor Strange is going to pop in and sort of get her out of all of this, bring her back to reality, whatever reality Doctor Strange wants it to be. But I think that's ultimately what's going to happen. I feel like there's people who are trying to make a play for her right now, sort of say, and try to get her on their side of things. Now that the Avengers are gone, or at least as far as we know, the not in the form that we know. Yet all these groups are still here and are jockeying for position. If you had a free agent, so to speak, I'm doing air quotes here, but like someone who's completely unaligned, like Scarlet Witch, with the power that she has, you'd probably try to ring her onto your best side. You'd want them to get onto yours. You'd want her to be on your side and fight your battles. But yeah, I think the big surprise, like you said, considering that she's supposed to be very involved in the next Doctor Strange movie, which is absolutely logical. Like, I don't think you really could go any other way. I think by the end of the season of the show, we'll have seen Benedict Cumberbatch pop up and, sort of say, "Hey, we need you. You got to come this way." And she's like, "Okay," kind of thing. That's what I'm sort of expecting.
Even if it's like a post-credit scene at the end of the last episode,
Sure.
I just get the feeling that he's going to pop up. Or if maybe, if he wasn't available, maybe, what's his face, his buddy, the librarian?
Wong? Wong, I think. I know you. I think we all know who you're talking about.
Yeah,
maybe he'll pop up. Maybe he'll pop up. So who knows? But just the fact that Fury was in space in the last appearance that he had makes me wonder if he's working with S.W.O.R.D. now. Because other than what they had in the TV show, S.H.I.E.L.D. is essentially a dead thing in Marvel.
Yeah.
So I'm very interested to see what they do, and I love that there's a mystery to it, that like they didn't send the whole season out to critics at once, so there's no spoilers out there for episodes 4 through 9.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's just so nice to go into something with Marvel, because all the movies, I always have a pretty good idea of where they're going to end. And with this, I have no clue. And there's so many things they could do, whether it be related to her 2 kids that it looks like she's now pregnant with,
Mm-hmm.
which, if they go the same route as the comics, will be very interesting, because her kids are like super powerful and very dangerous.
Yes, they are.
Because they're basically toddlers who don't know what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's just so great. And I think what drives home how much I love this show is how perfect the casting has been. Catherine Hahn as the nosy neighbor might be my favorite part of the whole show.
Yes, absolutely. She's delightful. She's perfect for the part, and everyone who's in there completely leans into the 50s aesthetic, and all the tropes. It's perfect. I'm telling you, the art direction, the character direction, the direction period. It's all very, very, very good. It's really one of the most interesting and one of the most interesting and most curveball-y things that Marvel has done so far. I love it.
Yeah.
And there's been not a single punch thrown. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Other than Jessica Jones, Marvel has never really gone the cerebral route. The first season of Jessica Jones, there's some episodes where she doesn't mess with anybody, because it's her bad guy in that. It's not a physical threat. It's a mental threat to her.
Mm-hmm.
So, I just love how different it is, because Graham and I have talked about this. Marvel can have as many different directors as they want. There's still a samey quality across the movies,
Mm-hmm.
because they're all taking place in the same world, so they all should look like they do. But at the same time, you get a little tired of the same thing over and over, and this show completely breaks that mold.
I love it.
I couldn't be happier.
Yep.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
And it's really our official kickoff to Phase 4. I know Chris and I talked about this the other day, but this is our first taste of, did I say Season 4? I meant Phase 4. I think I said Phase 4.
You did say Phase 4.
Okay.
Good job.
You
did.
Okay, I'm looking at Wikipedia right now, because Chris had advised me with all the shows to be coming out. That's what we're going to be talking about now. All the shows set to come out in the next few years alone. And this is all that's been announced. I'm sure there's more shows still to come out. Like, for example, they announced a lot of Star Wars stuff, but they kept the Boba Fett show under wraps until that last episode of The Mandalorian. So there might be more shows that we don't know about. I doubt it, but there might be more stuff that we don't already know. But there is a lot of stuff to look look forward to. We obviously won't go into great detail about every single show. We'll be here for the next 5 hours, just because there's so much stuff to talk about. So Phase 4 already off to a strong start with WandaVision. After that, so I didn't know this, but according to Wikipedia, that's going to wrap up on March 5th. The Falcon and the Winter Soldier comes out on March 19th. 2 weeks later, we have all of a 1-week break before 2 weeks later we get the return, or rather the debut, of Falcon and Winter Soldier. That's going to wrap up on April 23rd. So, Warren, I'll start with you. What are your expectations, hopes, excitement level for the Falcon and Winter Soldier show coming out in March?
I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. This is the one I'm least excited about, I believe. Mm-hmm. I think it's the one that I'm like, okay, like, cool, you know?
Yeah.
But this, let me put it to you this way. This wouldn't get me to spend $10 a month on Disney Plus.
Wow.
Let's put it that way. I mean, I like that these characters are getting their own series because I think it makes a lot of sense. This will probably be the show that will lay the most groundwork for what we're going to see in any upcoming theatrical releases. That's what I feel is going to happen. But it's not necessarily the one where I'm most probably, and maybe this ties into what I was saying a little earlier. Probably because it's the one that feels the most superhero-ish. Mm-hmm. And I feel like I already know kind of what to expect. But then again, they could curveball me. And then I'll come back on your podcast and be like, well, time to eat crow. Here we go, kind of thing. I mean, I'll probably end up watching it, don't get me wrong. But it's definitely the one that I'm least looking forward to.
Based on what we've seen so far from the promotional material, which granted is not a lot, we have seen very little of the show from the trailers and whatever, does it come across as Captain America light just without Captain America and kind of continuing that story, which is great, but it doesn't really, I don't know, these two obviously have great chemistry. I think it's going to be a very fun show, but I agree with you, it kind of feels generic at the surface level.
Yeah, and Anthony Mackie, right?
Yep.
Who plays the Falcon. Mm-hmm. I read an interview he did earlier this week, which I thought was interesting, and he said that we were going to reconnect with Bucky and the Falcon at their low point. So I'm like, okay, so maybe if they decide to turn the tables on it and make it a little grittier, maybe a little closer to the Marvel shows that they used to do on Netflix, without going maybe all like rated R kind of thing, still keeping it in that sweet PG-13 spot. That might captivate me a little more. He said, he even said it. My character is not Captain America. Captain America is Captain America. I'm something else. And after all, they are calling it the Falcon and Winter Soldier. They're not Captain America and Bucky kind of thing,
Yeah.
There might be something cool that comes out of this. I'm hopeful. Well, just like I said, it's not necessarily the one that gets my blood pumping.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Chris? What are your thoughts on this one?
Well, I love Anthony Mackie. First of all, like I've watched him in so many different things over the years, and to see him finally starting to get some main character roles makes me so happy, because he's a great actor who I don't think gets enough credit in these movies. They kind of give him, he's the best friend with the one-liner who's always there to, crack Cap up. And I'm looking forward to them hopefully giving his character a little more depth. I'm also probably a little bit of a bigger Bucky fan than a lot of MCU fans are. I guess some MCU fans just don't like Bucky for some reason.
I love Bucky.
I'm a big fan of his, and Sebastian Stan is pretty much good in anything he's in. But I think the thing that interests me the most is we're going to see the return of Zemo.
Yep.
I'm curious how that's going to happen. Is he going to break out? Is the government going to try and use him for some reason? I don't know. But Sharon Carter's coming back as well. And then they're having another Captain America type character in this called, I think it's U.S. Agent.
Mm-hmm.
So Wyatt Russell is portraying him.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, Kurt Russell's son.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of funny. That they're, both of them will have been part of the MCU. But so he'll be like the government's official sanctioned Captain America replacement. Whether he's had the super soldier serum or not, I don't know. But Falcon, I believe, may have spilled the beans a little bit. Like, I think he's basically like, he sort of becomes the Captain America moniker in this. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it just because I feel like it'll have a lot of similarities to stuff we saw in Winter Soldier, and I love Winter Soldier.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm really hoping they go with kind of more of a spy tone than just a straight up, you know, action tone.
Political intrigue kind of level thing.
Yeah, like I want it to have some depth. I don't want it to just be, we got to go here and beat up this guy because he's mean. Yeah. I want it to be like, and that's why I'm happy Zemo's coming back, because I feel like the potential for Zemo's character is there. It just wasn't realized fully in Civil War. And if they get the purple mask on him, you know, I'll be happy, but I'm not expecting it.
I think they will. I thought for some reason either it was rumored or there were like something leaked that indicated that he would be wearing the mask and that he wouldn't look just like he did in the last movie. But I could be completely wrong on that.
I mean, it's basically just a purple ski mask. It wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility for them to be somewhere cold and he just picks the color purple.
Yeah. I don't know. I just like I see him, and I thought he was a very good character in that Civil War movie. He just doesn't scream supervillain to me, just by looking at him. So I think by adding, he doesn't have to be over the top, goofy looking or whatever. But I don't know. I think the ski mask, like you said, the purple ski mask looking thing would make a big difference.
Yeah, I mean he's a cerebral villain. You know, he's a genius who plans his stuff out 10 steps in advance. Like, in reality, the plot to that movie has so many holes because so many things in his plan had to line up perfectly.
Oh, 100%, yeah.
You know, like, the fact that they all ended up exactly where he wanted them to is just sheer happenstance. But
yeah.
But beyond that, like, that's what makes his character so much more dangerous than the average supervillain is. You know, you don't know what to expect with him. So
right up until they debut Doctor Doom proper, boys. Then once Doctor Doom is debuted, everyone's put to shame.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Doctor Doom is probably going to be saved for the Fantastic Four.
Of course. And he has to.
But I could also see them introducing him in Black Panther 2, like, just to set the groundwork for his character. Mm-hmm. Because
Nations at
War. He's had quite a bit of dealings with the African continent in the comics, so it wouldn't be surprising. Maybe not the main villain, but you know, he could have a cameo or maybe be a post-credit stinger kind of thing. Who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, Doctor Doom, if they do him better than the original Fantastic Four movies do, and the new one, which it's going to be hard not to outdo the new one.
I was going to say, yeah.
Yeah. The bar's pretty low.
Yeah. I feel like the actor who played him in the original 2 movies with Jessica Alba and Chris Evans, I feel like he had a good Doctor Doom in him. He just didn't have a good script to work with.
None of them had a good script to work with.
Well, yeah, very true.
but yes, I think so. But you know, I think one of the things that just made the first Fantastic Four so rough with the Jessica Alba one is the fact that it's another origin story and just told in an extremely uninspired way, and everyone gets their origin story, including the villain. So you know, at some point, I think you just need you do need the formulas a little mixed up. And just to come back to your point, Chris, when you were talking about, you know, hoping that maybe Falcon Winter Soldier was going to be a little more spy oriented, you know, maybe some government, you know, if the government's getting involved, maybe there's going to be some politics and stuff like that. I would be 100% into seeing how Marvel would deal with themes of public perception of superheroes within, you know, a very, very grounded governmental setting, you know, not unlike what they do in The Boys. I don't know if you guys have watched The Boys.
I haven't seen The Boys yet, but I heard it was a great show, and I want to watch it at some point.
It's fantastic. I mean, definitely not as squishy and bloody as in The Boys.
Yeah.
But the idea is still there. It's all superheroes, public persona, public perception, following trends, government involvement. It takes it to an extreme, right? Of course. So I'd be interested to see how the MCU would want to deal with that. Sure, they touched on it with Civil War and so on, but I think there would be room to go more in depth in it, especially if they want to bring mutants in full blown, because as we all know, one of the biggest antagonists to the X-Men throughout their entire history has been the government. It's always been their biggest enemy. So it'd be cool if they started leaning into that more, and that would definitely set some chess pieces up for a lot of other stories that I think are relevant to be told.
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be really, really good. It's almost as good as Loki. That's coming out in May, and there's been a lot of talk about that. I think of all the shows coming out, at least as far as from what we know about them, the intrigue level for this one is at a completely different level. And the fact they might be exploring some unanswered mysteries from actual real life is pretty fucking cool. And the fact that Loki is just a great character in general it's going to be a good show for that alone. But you go through time, and there's just so many factors that I think that are going to make this show really, really cool to watch. So Warren, I'll start with you on this one. What are your thoughts on the Loki show coming up? What are you looking forward to? What do you think it's going to be about?
This is the complete opposite from Winter Soldier and Falcon. This is the one. This is the baby right here. That's the one that I'm like, give me all the Tom Hiddleston you can handle. Oh wait, you're sprinkling in some Owen Wilson. Please continue. Let's see just how far my body can take it. Look, Loki is one of the shining stars of the MCU. Every time they have that cat, they write wonderful scenes for him, and I am still convinced that throughout the first Avengers movie, Hiddleston made the character his own. He didn't want him to just be a classic supervillain, wringing his fingers, his hands together. I'm sure he had all of this charm and this personality to him because he wanted to, and it translated so well. And Loki became despite the fact that he's slash villain slash supporting character, he became so beloved and a major attraction to the MCU that it's like, okay, well, let's give him a series. This is going to be, what I kind of feel like it's going to be like give me like a contemporary Quantum Leap, right? Where he's just bouncing around, taking all sorts of shapes and forms and getting involved. And why not have some kind of beautiful redemption story for Loki, like where he just becomes like this completely wonderful, agreeable, smiling, fantastic Asgardian at the end, who just like completely abandons the Loki of old. I'm really excited to see where they're going to go with this, but it's going to be nothing if not funny and original. I am super down for this one. What
about you, Chris?
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. The first trailer got me really excited just because it took me like 30 seconds to realize that was Owen Wilson in the elevator.
Yeah.
I'm like, Owen Wilson with a mustache and short hair just looks so different. But I'm excited to see what they do, like, because it seems like they sort of have a secret time bureau kind of deal that is sort of watching over time travel at this point.
Yeah.
The Time Variance Authority.
Yeah, that's it. And so I'm very curious to see what goes on with that. But just Tom Hiddleston, like you were saying, he's a special part of the MCU, and none of the Thor movies would have worked without him. Like,
oh, God.
The first movie, and Graham and I have talked about this, like, a lot of people won't rate the first movie all that highly, but I do, because him and Anthony Hopkins, like, they're literally Shakespearean level actors. Like, you could put those guys on the stage and people will take them seriously, and they can deliver these long monologues that people feel emotional about. And like, they elevated Chris Hemsworth's performance just by being near him, basically.
I agree.
So seeing Loki take center stage is cool. I don't necessarily think he'll come out of this a squeaky clean babyface or anything. No. I think he'll always be slightly self-serving, but if this in any way ends with him finding some kind of peace, let's say, I'll be happy. But I don't know if the plan is for him to appear in Thor: Love and Thunder at all or not. So I'm wondering if anything will tie into that in any way.
I don't think so. I feel like this might be completely separate of everything else, including, Thor-related stuff. I think the story arc with Thor and Loki came to a perfect culmination in Endgame in Infinity War at the very beginning there. I feel like, as we were talking about with Phil in our last WandaVision episode 1 and 2 review, when Captain America was announced as coming back for something we don't know, I just feel like it might take away from that. So I feel like whatever they're doing with Loki...
I heard he debunked that right away.
Oh, he did, but that doesn't... it means something, but he could just be lying just to cover his ass, which,
true.
That we see that in WWE all the time. Edge, for example, was like, oh no, I'm not coming back. Stop reporting that. You're all marks. And then he came back at the Rumble anyway, so that's what that reminds me of, to be honest with you. I feel like there's smoke to the fire there, because otherwise, why would it be reported in the first place? And it came from a pretty legit source, I think. It wasn't just some, loser with a blog or whatever, so... I guess we'll say. But yeah, with the Loki stuff, I think it's going to be cool because it's going to be so isolated from everything else. Having Owen Wilson in there, it just makes this 10 times better. And the show is already going to be great regardless. We talked about this a while ago, Chris, but what was the arcade game that they referenced in that trailer? Was it like Previous or what? It began with a P, I thought.
In the Loki trailer?
Yeah, that were like, they didn't know, like, it's a real life myth where it didn't actually exist, but Probius, maybe?
Polybius.
Yeah, thank you, Warren. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh,
yeah.
I don't remember talking about that.
We didn't talk about that. I thought we did, but yeah, they go over Polybius. Is that what you said, Warren?
Yeah, Polybius.
Yes, okay, there we go. Yeah,
that's the game that some people swear showed up in arcades for like a week and then all of a sudden disappeared, right?
It makes a cameo at the end of the trailer for Loki.
Oh, okay. I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
I was like, the thing I was more interested in was the DB Cooper stuff.
Yeah, DB Cooper. Yeah, that was another thing, obviously. Yeah. No, I think it's going to be cool. So there's a lot of possibilities.
So many TV shows have done a storyline about DB Cooper. It's one of those great. It's one of the great enduring American mysteries. And chances are good that he just died in the wilderness and was eaten. But so many people love to fantasize that he got away with the money.
It's a good one. It is a good one.
We'll see.
What else do you see them exploring in the show? Or rather, what more do you want to see them explore? Some unsolved mysteries from the history of the world or whatever.
I wouldn't mind some cameos from older characters. Like, he'll be obviously moving around in time a bit.
Sure.
So it'd be cool to see Howard Stark and Jarvis show up, or... him interact with, Peter Quill's uncle or something. Like, just one of those random side characters. I could see Marvel throwing a few of them in.
I know people had very few people, I think is the minority, but like some people had an issue with how they went about the whole time travel thing in Endgame. Do you think this might right that wrong and do what that game, fully utilize the concept of time travel that Endgame didn't have the chance to just because it was kind of crammed into one movie?
It'll be interesting to see if they change the rules of time travel, because if Loki's using the Space Stone, then maybe it's technically a different kind of time travel than the quantum realm. I don't know. We'll probably get some random science explanation for it at some point, but I don't even really care if they necessarily go into it, because at this point, time travel in anything is never perfect. So
yeah,
we can't expect it to be perfect in Marvel either.
Yeah, no, definitely.
That's true.
So we got a bunch of shows left. I'm going to group these into 3 for each of them, just kind of little 3 mini groups, because we don't know a lot about these shows. These are really just kind of first impressions. So for the first group, we got What If. We already kind of know a lot about that. That's coming out in the summer. Obviously, as the title suggests, kind of exploring the what if of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, as if Peggy Carter was Captain America, if Black Panther was in Star-Lord's role, if he was Star-Lord. I think there's a few more that they confirmed. I know they're definitely doing those 2. I think they showed footage of maybe one more in the trailer. Forgot what it was, but that looks like a really cool show. Obviously, that's animated, and they're having the actual characters, a lot of them, reprise their roles, including Black Panther himself, obviously, who passed away last year, which I think might have been the last Marvel thing that he did, which is really cool. So we have that to look forward to, too. So, Chris, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on What If? We also have Miss Marvel and Hawkeye, I think all coming out at some point in 2021.
The recent trailer for Hawkeye, it looked good, but I won't say that it necessarily got me super excited for it. I like the Hawkeye character. I just don't know. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if they can make that show something special, because I feel like the Hawkeye character finally got interesting in Endgame, so we'll see what happens. I don't know if they're planning on doing anything with his daughter in that show, because they obviously showed him starting to train her with a bow, but we already have Haley Steinfeld confirmed to be playing I forget her name now.
Yeah,
Warren, you know who I'm talking about here?
I know you're talking about. It's slipping my mind too.
Kate Bishop. Yeah, so she'll be playing Kate Bishop, who's a Hawkeye protege in the comics too, so that makes sense. What If, I think, will just be fun. It's just going to be a fun little experiment from Marvel, and I have a feeling that kind of show could get several more seasons, because there's just so much they could mine out of, like, what happens if we go this route, But Miss Marvel's the one I'm curious to see more information about the most, because we have very little about that other than the casting of the young girl who will be playing Kamala Khan. So Miss Marvel got a little bit of a rub this year with the Avengers game. She was the main playable character in the Marvel Avengers game.
Oh, okay.
The game wasn't necessarily as well received as I think they had hoped, but not necessarily because of the character. The character was actually praised quite a bit for her characterization, the writing surrounding her, and just being the first really important Muslim character in any video game, let alone in any Marvel property. So it'll be cool to see that brought to live action. Her powers are a little on the funky side. They're very similar to Mr. Fantastic, but she's even more capable of, like, she can turn herself giant. Like, her whole body she can become a giant. So she'll be a force to be reckoned with. Did they confirm who her villain is? It's not MODOK like in the game, is it?
No, but I think MODOK is appearing at some point in some other... I heard MODOK was rumored for Ant-Man 3.
Jesus, a live-action MODOK is going to be wild. If they go full, like, giant head... Jesus. Marvel surprises me sometimes, so who knows?
Actually, my bad. I think he was rumored, or people were speculating that he could be the main villain for Ant-Man 3, but then obviously it was confirmed soon after that it's going to be King the Conqueror, so I don't think he's going to be in Ant-Man 3, because people were speculating that he was who the main buyer was in Ant-Man and the Wasp, that they never actually revealed who it was, which would make sense, but I don't think that's King the Conqueror. I don't know.
They revealed that it was that, like, low-level FBI guy.
Was he the main... Did they?
Yeah, he was the guy that Walton Goggins was on the phone with all the time. But, nothing ever happened to him in the end of the movie.
I know that he was the guy that he was, like, helping out and whatnot, but was he the main buyer?
Yeah, it made very little sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess it was just a swerve for the sake of a fucking swerve, but they should have clarified that better. But yeah,
I want it to be Justin Hammer, because Sam Rockwell needs to be in everything.
No, definitely. And that'd be great. I mean, they're bringing back, which we'll talk about. Actually, I'll talk about the She-Hulk stuff in a second, and the fact that they're bringing back Tim Roth as Abomination, which I thought was really cool. But we'll get to that in a second. Before I ask you about those, we got to get Warren's thoughts on Miss Marvel, Hawkeye, and What If.
I think the What If series, the What If series is it's beautiful. It's a Silver Age era comic that's always been wonderful. I love it. And that they're animating it. I think it's really exciting. I'm excited to see that. I'm with Chris as far as Hawkeye goes. Like, if anything, exploring the fact that he's really a mere mortal amongst all these crazy ass superheroes around him. Like, I think that's one of the reasons why he felt so attached to Black Widow, was because she didn't have superpowers either. She was just like a highly skilled assassin, kind of like him. I'd be curious to see how if they explore how does he fit in, how does Hawkeye fit into this universe of super beings and just this wild all these with all these powers and implications that go way beyond like his mortal self. That's really interesting, and I do think that then they should do something with his daughter that's been established, maybe a passing of the mantle kind of thing. That's what I kind of expect from the series, that we get ourselves like a Hawkeye 2 kind of situation. That's what I'm kind of feeling. That's what I'm kind of feeling.
Yeah, no, Hawkeye should be interesting. We don't know a whole lot about it, but like you guys said, Kate Bishop's inclusion, it should be a good show. I like,
sure.
Jeremy Renner's character. He's obviously absolutely in the show, right? It's not all about Kate Bishop?
No, he'll be training her, but they released a trailer. They're both in it.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure. I wasn't sure. For some reason, I thought he retired from the MCU after Endgame, so that's good. I was a fan of his. So we get to the next 3 batch of shows here. I almost said movies.
Well, what about, hold on, Warren didn't talk about Miss Marvel.
Oh, yeah, Miss Marvel.
Sorry on that.
No, I think, different perspectives I think are important, and I think this is what the show is going to be about. I'm completely at a loss when it comes here, so I'll just let myself be surprised. But I like the idea. I like the idea of a different perspective on superheroes and environments in which these people live in. I'm all for it. Let's do it. Like I said, I'm just ready to be surprised as far as this one goes.
Yeah. No, I know nothing about it aside from what Chris just said. I think you told me more about it, Chris, than I had heard from anyone else up to this point. So thank you for telling me about that. So I'm looking forward to that. We have Moon Knight, She-Hulk, and Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. Again, not really much of a show, but I thought we discussed it anyway because it is a part of the Disney Plus releases. So Chris, we'll start again with you. Moon Knight, She-Hulk, Guardians Holiday Special. What are you thinking here?
The Guardians Holiday Special is kind of a weird thing because I feel like they should deal with the whole getting Gamora back on the crew thing before they have any kind of goofy side story stuff. But
was this confirmed to be taking place now? I mean, this could be like in between 1 and 2, right? Or after 2? Does it have to be now?
Well, they're filming it at the same time as 3, so I imagine I think it's supposed to take place before 3, but it also might not even be canon. Like, this might be something ridiculous, like the Star Wars Holiday Special that they're literally just doing for fun. Like, it could be a musical for all we know. We have no clue. So, I mean, Rocket and Groot singing a song together. But I'm curious to see where it goes, but I want them to at least do something with Gamora important. But, that's whatever. With She-Hulk, so what I heard is that this is supposed to be like almost more like a half-hour courtroom drama because she's an attorney.
Okay.
So I don't know how much action we're necessarily going to see, but the character is a character that I've only really experienced in cartoons. I don't really have much experience with her from the comics. I just know that the way she was created was from a blood transfusion from Bruce at some point. So I wonder if they're going to maybe go back to a time before Bruce was fully hulked up as Professor Hulk and show that happening, or maybe they'll just give her a whole new origin. I don't know. It could be anything. But have they confirmed if Ruffalo's going to be in this, or just...
Yes, he is.
Oh, he is?
He is? Okay, excellent.
Cool.
So that makes me wonder if they're going to turn Ross into Red Hulk and just give us a full-on Team Hulk show.
I know people have been wanting that for a while, especially since he's in the Black Widow movie. You don't think it would happen there, right?
I don't know. I doubt it. Black Widow seems to almost be disconnected from everything else. There's rumors of an Iron Man cameo, but it seems like it's going to be its own thing just because it's taking place before Endgame.
Oh, I'm an idiot. Yeah, I completely forgot that Black Widow takes place in between Civil War and Infinity War, and he's in
They really
Infinity
screwed
War,
up by not just giving her own movie earlier, but
like
whatever.
5 years ago.
That's a conversation, we've had that conversation already. Moon Knight is what has me the most interested, because Moon Knight is a super interesting character who has the potential to be a breakout character for the MCU if he's done right, because Iron Man was a C-lister before the movies, and I think Moon Knight could get that same sort of rub if it's done right. Oscar Isaac is going to be playing Mark Spector, the main character, so that is cool. He's a good actor. I don't know if we know much more of the details about it, though.
They got Ethan Hawke in. And that's,
they did just announce that. I read that, yeah.
We don't know what yet.
Be villain.
That would be my guess, too. But, I mean, those are two fantastic people right there.
Yes. And so, Graham, do you know much about the Moon Knight character, like what he's about?
I don't. I know they had referenced him in Winter Soldier. They didn't reference Moon Knight, but they mentioned someone from Cairo who I thought may have been an acknowledgement of Moon Knight, but I don't think it was in retrospect.
Well, Mark Spector essentially, the Egyptian god Khonshu, I think is how you say his name, grants him some powers and sort of inhabits his body, kind of. And his powers really only work in the moonlight, so he's sort of kind of considered the Marvel equivalent to Batman in that he really only operates at night. But he actually does have some superpowers, and they just did a whole thing in the comics with him where he ended up becoming like one of the most powerful characters in the universe because of the Phoenix Force and Khonshu having this war. And so it was a whole big thing that just concluded recently. I doubt they'll use any of that in the show, though. I think it'll be an origin and, his first major battle. But Moon Knight is a crazy character who's got, essentially multiple personality disorder. So, yeah, that's the one that has me the most excited out of those three things that you just mentioned.
What about you, Warren?
Me too.
Oh, yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, absolutely the same. Moon Knight is right up there with Loki in my in my playbook. Super excited to see what they're going to do, with that, because I've read some Moon Knight in the past, and I've always liked it. I always thought he was a super interesting character, but I always wondered why he never got more love. So now, hey, he's going to get his own TV show. I'm okay with that. And Oscar Isaac, are you kidding me? I mean, just the performances are spot on. And then they added Ethan Hawke yesterday, and I'm a guy from the '90s. I was an adult in the '90s. Ethan Hawke was one of my guys. He was a grunge guy, right? He was a guy you'd see on TV, in the movies, and be like, I relate to this guy, kind of thing. So he's always had a special place for me. I'm excited to see where this goes. The Guardians of the Galaxy is my favorite Marvel thing. I hate to use the word property because it feels like I deal in business, but
maybe.
Yeah. Honestly, it's really my favorite. From the minute that they announced it, I was like, I don't understand why they're doing a movie about these guys and not Moon Knight, kind of thing. And it's just been gold. So the fact that they're doing a holiday special, I really hope, I sincerely and deeply hope that it has nothing to do with the MCU. I hope it is a standalone thing. That's what I'm thinking. That's what they should go for. something like Chris said, like the Star Wars Christmas special, where it's like it has nothing to do with anything. Like, who celebrates Christmas in outer space? You know, it's like, who does that? Peter Quill trying to get Dax to understand that you have to hang stockings. You know, the possibilities are great here. So, you know, and like you said, yes, it would be nice to sort of tie in the Gamora stuff, but the Guardians of the Galaxy is so, everything is based in absurdity and comedy, and even the Gamora stuff, I don't see it getting settled very, very dramatically. You know, there has to be something wild and outrageous about it. So even if it doesn't exactly tie in, or even if they wink at it, you know, throughout the episode, I think it's great. There's a lot of leeway to do something really, really stupid and fun, and I'm really looking forward to it. And She-Hulk, look, you know, I know She-Hulk from the stint that she had in the Fantastic Four, like 20 odd years ago. So, and yes, I know, like, her current permutation is that she's a lawyer. So, I'm open to anything at this point. But you're bringing back Tim Roth in any, sure, bringing him back as Abomination, but bringing back Tim Roth, Jesus Christ, this is going to be good. It's going to be really, really good.
Yeah, no, I'm glad they're bringing it back. I mean, it's been, 13 years now, and it's going to be 14 by the time the show comes out next year. So that's a long time. They've had characters come back after a few years and not over a decade. So I think that's going to be pretty cool. And you mentioned, Chris, that they mentioned him in a show. Was it Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? That he's been locked away this entire time?
Yeah, Coulson has a throwaway line like, "Oh, if you screw up again like that, I'll have you guarding Blonsky's cryo cell."
Okay.
So, like, they have him basically frozen. There was also a thing referenced in that show. I don't know what it was called, but it was like a secret facility really, really high up towards the North Pole, where S.H.I.E.L.D. kept all the most dangerous criminals and all the most dangerous technology. You know, of course, keeping it all in one place is a recipe for disaster, and something terrible happened on the show. But that could very well have been where Blonsky was kept. I'm not sure. All I know is that any excuse to put Tim Roth in anything, I'm here for. That guy is incredible. Yeah, I want Red Hulk. I want Red Hulk, you know, like, Ross has been in and out of the MCU this whole time. Just throw some CGI stuff out there and let him go into a voiceover booth, and I'm sure he'll be fine with it. Like, but yeah, I don't know. I think the She-Hulk stuff is going to be interesting, especially if Matt Murdock does come back to the MCU at some point. It would be a perfect way to introduce him in a courtroom scene with her.
I think with Ross, is he officially the longest tenured member of the MCU now that I'm talking about the actor that has played that character with Iron Man now dead, other than Pepper.
Technically, Paul Bettany was
true
Jarvis in the first Iron Man, but yeah, the Hulk came out right after that, right?
Yeah, like a month or two later.
Yeah, probably then. Who knows? Hey, you know what? Maybe they'll bring in Liv Tyler too.
Who was who played Betty or whatever?
Yeah,
maybe.
Because I think Kevin Feige confirmed that she was taken in the snap and then brought back because somebody asked him at like a Comic-Con or something.
Oh, okay. I wonder if he made that idea. If he just made that up on the spot, or they put actual thought into that.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But you know, Kevin Feige, anything he says is taken as gospel by Marvel fans. So
yeah, exactly.
If she's still alive, she's still alive.
Yeah, well, whatever he says goes, I guess. So we'll close it out here. Warren, what are you? Sorry, what'd you say, Chris?
I was gonna say Black Widow's gone, so
yeah, her too.
Yeah.
Hulk can always go back to his old flame.
But look, they're gonna.
Tyrell is out of the picture.
the Black Widow stuff. I'm not done with. There's something there's something about them doing this film at this point that doesn't make sense if there's no way to re-include her. They're going to go hard with the multiverse stuff, I think, in Phase 4. I would not be surprised to see Black Widow coming back, because of some multiverse shenanigans. I really wouldn't be surprised.
This is super. Or sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I was going to say the big rumor is that Florence Pugh is supposed to show up as her character from Black Widow in one of these shows. I'm not sure which one.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I figure she might be part of the reason why they're doing the movie now, is whether that.
My guess is she's going to be in the Hawkeye show.
No, that would make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
but with Black Widow, I feel like there's two potential things going on here. One, maybe they'll find a way to bring the character back, like Warren said, either through a multiverse counterpart, or maybe Loki plucks her out of time or some BS. I don't know. But I almost don't want them to find a way to bring her back, because I feel like that cheapens her sacrifice in the movie.
Yeah, no, definitely.
It's comics.
And I don't think Scarlett wants to play this character forever. Like, at a certain point, you get tired of keeping your body in that kind of shape.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we'll see. I'm not sure. Has she been vocal about not wanting to play the character again, on a full-time basis?
She's always been super happy to play the character publicly, but who knows what she feels privately. She's got kids. She's got other things she probably wants to do in her career. These movies are a very taxing thing because they take months to prepare for and then months to shoot. So I could see her being officially done with the MCU after this movie, but I could also see them trying something to get her in some way, even for a cameo down the line, or maybe they'll go. So there was an interesting rumor I heard. Tom Cruise was originally approached for Iron Man, and he turned it down, and he's talked about regretting that. And apparently there's a rumor that they could use him as Iron Man in a multiverse cameo. So maybe they'll have somebody else play Black Widow at some point down the line if they go to Earth 5 or something.
Maybe. I mean, the multiverse opens up a lot of possibilities, like Warren said. There's so much stuff they could do.
I don't want Tom Cruise to play Iron Man, though. If Tom Cruise is going to come into the MCU, I want him to be a villain, because he's never a freaking villain, and I feel like he's got a good bad guy in him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, yeah. I think it'd be a good heel for the MCU. I would like to see that.
There's so many Marvel characters that are the charismatic businessman who's an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
He could do that. He could be the head of Roxxon. Yeah. He could just be one of the, or he could be running Sword.
No, that's possible too. There's a lot of possibilities with what they could do with it, I think.
Yeah. But Tom Cruise isn't going to make those Mission Impossible movies forever. He'll die if he does.
No, exactly. Especially if the rants continue, too. We got 3 more movies or shows to discuss here. Warren, I'll start with you. Secret Invasion, Ironheart, Armor Wars. What are you thinking? What are you looking forward to amongst these shows?
I would say the Secret Invasion has all the potential to be a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. Something along the lines of WandaVision or what I like best about Guardians of the Galaxy, the Skrulls taking over, and all tied into what do you call it? Space Shield, I guess. wherever Nick Fury is right now, it's like, I mean, this is the kind of show that I really dig, because it's kind of like it blows off doors on things that you could expect or not expect. I really dig it. We don't have much to go on yet outside of what we know about the Secret Invasion stuff from the comics. So it has the potential to be a lot of fun. I'm excited about it. And Ironheart and Armor Wars, I feel they're going to be kind of tied into one another, right? I mean,
I think so.
Imagine.
I'd assume so. But I mean, give Title all the roles. Give him all the roles.
That'd be great. What about you, Chris? What are your thoughts?
Well, Ironheart and Armor Wars probably will be tied together in some way, because Ironheart's Riri Williams, who essentially builds her own Iron Man armor and impresses Stark so much that he sort of mentors her a little bit. I could see Tony Stark coming back to the MCU in a way that they did it in the comics, which is he downloaded his brain and essentially created an AI version of himself.
Mm-hmm.
And I could see him serving as her Jarvis.
That's fun.
I would love that.
Would it go back to what you were saying earlier, that it might take away from his final appearance in the MCU, or no?
No, because it wouldn't really be Stark. It would be an AI with Stark's voice and personality, but it would be just his voice in her head.
Okay.
I mean, in the comics, they went a little farther than that, and he was essentially a hologram, or he was in one of the Iron Man suits, just controlling it himself. But, you know, in Marvel, nobody ever stays dead in the comics except Uncle Ben. And even, I think even once or twice on that, they sort of went back on their word on that. But yeah, it's like Uncle Ben and Gwen was the original one who ever used to just always be dead, but now Gwen's back in a million different forms.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go ahead. What's up?
No, I was just gonna say, do you think not Tony, oh my God, what's his fucking name? Who plays Tony Stark? I'm dying here. Robert Downey Jr. Do you think Robert Downey Jr. might need the check after Dr. Doolittle flopped about a year ago?
Well, considering Downey was the highest paid actor in the world for like 3 or 4 years because of Marvel, I think he's doing fine. Yeah. But if it's just a voiceover, I could see that being a very appealing thing, because, you know, that's a few days in a booth versus a few months on a green screen set.
Yeah.
Armor Wars, I'm looking forward to, just because Don Cheadle's a great actor, and if you give him something to do that's more than second in command, he's going to knock it out of the park.
Mm-hmm.
So I have no doubt that he'll make that show fun. Secret Invasion is the most interesting of these three. Now, we talked about this during our Captain Marvel review when we were talking to Rob Schamberger.
Yep.
There is a character from Captain Marvel, one of the Skrulls, who was never accounted for at the end.
I remember we discussed that, yeah.
So I have a little bit of a theory. This is going to be centered on Nick Fury in some way, and they already confirmed Ben Mendelsohn will be back as Talos, and I'm assuming Talos' wife will be there too.
Awesome.
Maybe even his kids will be adults now, because it's been since the 90s.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I think what's going to happen is somebody super high up in the government is going to die, and it's going to end up being a Skrull, and that's what's going to kick everything off, and Fury's immediately going to be suspicious of everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling this will also probably introduce the concept of the life model decoy to the MCU, which was introduced in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but they sort of just don't count that show. The life model decoys are basically just realistic representations of people, but they're essentially robots. So I think we're going to find out that maybe Fury's been using those for a little while. Okay. Who knows? But Secret Invasion is going to be cool, and I think we might get a couple of fun cameos, and maybe we'll find out that somebody's supposed to have been a Skrull for the past few years that, you know, we have thought of as a hero.
I think we discussed that at the end of the Captain Marvel review, and I remember getting your thoughts on it then, and Rob too. But for a quick prediction, if you had to make any current character that's been a Skrull, not this entire time, but for the last couple of years, as you said, who would it be?
I mean, for me, if they're not going to make Ross Red Hulk, have him be a Skrull, because he is in a supreme position of power. So,
okay. Then what happened to the real Ross? Is he still around?
See, that's the thing is sometimes they keep the people alive, and sometimes they replace them completely if they're dead.
Yeah.
So in the original comics, you end up finding out that, like, some of those heroes that we find out have been Skrulls for a little while have been dead for years, and then a lot of them have been in stasis up in space somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that's possible. What about you, Warren? Who would you make a Skrull if you had to pick somebody from the MCU?
Again, like if you Nick Fury's the easy pick, right?
Sure.
But let's say, Agent Coulson.
Okay. Interesting.
Why not? Or at least, like in the, at the very least, a decoy, right? Mm-hmm. Would help explain how he survived at this. Well, I know they went through it, but he, because he dies, he comes back. Now he's dead, but could always bring him back that way.
Did you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
I watched the first 3 or 4 seasons. I'd say 3.
Are you familiar with how it ended?
No, I'm not.
Do you want me to spoil it?
Sure, go ahead.
So, Fury does end up dying for real in the show. And at a certain point, another Fury shows up. And I don't remember how they explained it because I was kind of in and out of that last season. But, I think it was either some kind of clone technology or something to do with their time travel shenanigans. But, he was a completely different person. He didn't have Coulson's memories or anything.
Right.
So Clark Gregg still has a character who's alive in some way, and I would love to see Clark Gregg brought back in any way, shape, or form. But if they brought back Coulson and just ignored the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show, I honestly wouldn't have a huge problem with that, because the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. show essentially just ignored the MCU for the last few seasons, too.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah, that would be awesome.
A bonus question for you guys before we wrap it up here. I just saw this about an hour ago. I guess this news broke either today or yesterday. That Zack, this isn't Marvel related, but Zack Snyder confirmed that Justice League, I thought it was going to be like a multi-part series on HBO Max later this year. Apparently it's coming out in March instead, to both theaters and HBO Max, as a 4-hour movie instead, which is crazy. What are your thoughts on that, Chris? What would you do with that?
I mean, I'll probably take a break halfway through.
Does it need to be 4 hours in your opinion? I thought what they had originally planned, the multi-parts, I mean, I'm probably not going to watch it anyway, but I thought what they rumored originally was a much better idea than this.
I'm not opposed to the occasional really long movie. 4 hours is excessive, though. That being said, is it really any different than sitting down and watching a mini-series that adds up to 4 hours at the end of the day? No, I can watch it in increments if I want to. But, see, I'm torn because I'm not a fan of Zack Snyder's work on 90% of the comic book movies he's done.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm also hopeful that the fact that he was given this chance to essentially reshoot and just kind of make the movie that he originally wanted and then some, I'm hopeful that it will have some depth, because he's a great visual filmmaker. He can direct the hell out of a movie.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think his idea of what some of these characters are lines up with what a lot of other people want them to be, myself included.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like dour, depressing Superman. I want Superman who's the beacon of hope in the world. I've seen Dark Superman enough. Batman shouldn't be killing people, period. I know that other versions of Batman have. I don't care. I don't want cinematic Batman just killing people.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, I'm excited to see if he makes it better. And I hope he does. I genuinely hope it's successful. I hope it leads to more DC projects, because I like what DC's done with quite a few of the recent things, Wonder Woman 84 excluded.
Yeah. That's a whole separate review.
I mean, have you watched that yet?
I have, yeah. I saw it a couple weeks ago. I was mixed reviews for me. Didn't hate it, but I just it was what it was. I'll put it that way. What about you, Warren?
What about you?
Well, 2 questions. 1, did you see Wonder Woman 1984? And 2, would you go see a 4-hour Justice League movie by Zack Snyder?
I have not seen Wonder Woman 1984 yet. And Zack Snyder, look, this will sum up fairly what I think about the movie. Zack Snyder is the greatest grifter in Hollywood right now. It's amazing that someone with such average talent is able to have so much money thrown at him to redo shit that he couldn't get right the first time. Now I understand that there were circumstances, and what happened to his daughter is extremely tragic, and I'm not gonna try to pretend that didn't happen. But for real, guys, let's be completely honest with each other. 300, super fun movie. Dawn of the Dead, I don't know if you guys saw that. It was a great readaptation. It was fun. What else has he done that was very good?
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say this. He did not understand the characters in Watchmen, but he made a beautiful Watchmen movie.
But you hit it on the head, Chris. Visually, the guy understands his aesthetic. He really does. Sucker Punch. It's a fucking beautiful picture, but Jesus Christ, it's all over the place. It is ultimately, It's not a fun movie. I hated Watchmen. I just absolutely hated it. And Man of Steel, I think we all agree that it's not a good picture. I think Batman vs Superman is a joke. I didn't like Justice League, and I don't think that it's going to be any better with the Snyder cut. Jesus,
did you see the extended version of Batman vs Superman?
I saw both. Can you believe that? That's how committed I am to say to my opinion that Zack Snyder sucks. I watched both to make very, very sure. And I don't know why they decided that. It wasn't any better. It just made it even more grating. It's such a bad film. He's not good at what he does. He really, really isn't. And they just throw money at him. And now he's going to do another zombie thing for Netflix on top of that. I'm like, stop giving this guy work. He's not that good.
I think I said this in another podcast with you, Graham, but he would be an excellent cinematographer / director. But he should not be writing the movies he's directing. And yeah, like he's just good at the visual stuff, but I just don't like his take on a lot of these established characters. Like, yes, I get it. You want to make it your own, but at the same time, there needs to be a certain level of continuity with the source material. Yeah. Otherwise, you're just writing fan fiction.
I agree.
Definitely. Well, on that note, guys, any other additional thoughts before we ride off into the sunset here?
Warren, I'll let you go.
I've got that. Outside that this was a lot of fun. It was good to talk about some comic book movies. I enjoyed this, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. Well, this has been awesome, dude. We definitely got to have you on again to talk. Anything Marvel related? Do you watch the Star Wars stuff too?
Yes, as well. Absolutely.
Cool. Perfect. Well, we got a lot to talk about with everything coming out.
Mandalorian.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I'm halfway through season 2, despite being spoiled over and over again, but that's okay. It's the best. It's the best thing to come out of Star Wars within the past 15 years. That's my hot take.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's grown into being my favorite Star Wars thing now. Like, the original movies will always have a special place in my heart, but if you're talking just quality, it's the best.
Yep.
But yeah, as far as final thoughts on the superhero stuff goes, I'm just really hopeful that Marvel starts to embrace these different formats. So WandaVision, I think, is a great first experiment for them to see, what can we do with these characters that's not just beat 'em up movies that end with a world-ending catastrophe being averted. Like, what else can we do that's going to allow these characters to connect to the audience in a different way? And the fact that WandaVision started so strong just makes me so excited to see what they decide to do going forward. And if it maybe the reception to it is going to be strong enough to change their strategy on a few things. Like, Marvel is a fluid thing. They may plan out stuff far in advance, but we've seen those changes. Like, we were supposed to get an Inhumans movie, and instead we got that terrible TV show. So which, my God, how that was just terrible. I mean, it's like the only black mark on Marvel's otherwise pristine record up to this point. So, yeah. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, Warren, having you on. I didn't know you were this into it, so I'm glad we were able to get another person on here. Graham and I have had a lot of different people from Bleacher Report, and then we've started branching out just to other wrestling media people in general, and it seems like everybody enjoys talking about something other than wrestling once in a while.
Once in a while. We do it so much, right? It feels like a nice bath.
Yeah, exactly.
And with this, it's like, we're all just fans. None of us are in this industry necessarily, so it's fun to hear everybody's viewpoints and kind of see, what theories everybody has.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. Well, like I said, we definitely got to do this again with you, Warren. I'm not sure for what, maybe a WandaVision episode review or something else coming out. There are so many goddamn shows coming out in the next lifetime that we have plenty of opportunities to discuss everything coming up in the coming weeks, months, years, whatever. But yeah, this has been a lot of fun, guys. Thank you so much. You can follow, of course, Chris on the Twitter machine at BR_doctor, and you can follow Warren at Mr. Warren Hayes on the Twitter machine. Warren, Chris, thanks so much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.